Good afternoon, everyone. Cascade County Sheriff Jesse Slaughter, and I'm joined here by Attorney General Austin Knutson, Cascade County Attorney Josh Rackey, and the Great Falls Police Chief Jeff Newton. Today, I want to give update into the homicide case that we've been working for the past 20 days. I'd ask everybody to just bear with me as we go through this case. There is quite a bit of information that we want to share with the community, and we will try to make it as brief as possible, but I also want to make time for questions at the end. I would just ask at the end, if anybody in the media has questions, I would ask that you just address who you'd like to answer the questions so they can come forward, please. So today, I want to give an update in the homicide of Terrell Johnson. And I want to announce that we have amended charges against Lane Gibson. On January 9, 2026, at approximately 11:56 a.m., Cascade County Sheriff's deputies responded to a report of a deceased male in the 1700 block of 22nd Avenue South. As I stated before, the victim was identified as Terrell Johnson at that time. Terrell is a 25-year-old male from Harlem, Montana. The victim sustained multiple stab wounds, and we've been working this investigation intensely over 20 days. Today I want to announce that we've amended the charges against Lane Gibson to deliberate homicide, a felony. It's covered in Montana Code Annotated 45-5102. He's also still being charged with tampering with a witness, and I'll get into the reasons why here in a second. I'm going to give you a timeline of events that start approximately on January 8th into January 9th. On January 8, 2026, the victim traveled to 1605 Chowen Springs Loop with known witnesses and our suspect, Lane Gibson. Somewhere between the time of 3:30 and 4 a.m. in the morning, this would now be on the 9th, the victim and Gibson left the residence nearly at the same time. The victim exited through the front door, Gibson exited through the back door. Gibson was given a light-colored hoodie by a witness before leaving this residence. The victim's location data placed him later that morning, somewhere behind the Grizzly Inn at approximately 5:56 in the morning. We also discovered this on our victim's cell phone and his Snapchat location devices. And we also discovered through our investigation through Snapchat data that the victim was at the 17th Street South and 22nd Avenue South, and his location was shut off at 6:02 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to talk about some key evidence that'll kind of make this kind of come together for everybody. The victim's phone was not recovered at the scene or on his person. Cell phone data location showed the phone was moved after the homicide occurred. The phone location data pointed towards the Grandview Apartments. We also had corroborated this with witness statements about the victim's movement and Snapchat location. One of our witnesses had, during a statement, had notified us that it was strange that at that point in time that we'd done the witness interview that our victim's Snapchat had been shut off at that time by 11 hours, and that was unlike our victim. Our victim always had a Snapchat location on. Multiple key evidences were surveillance video. We had multiple videos that captured our suspected male wearing the light zip-up colored hoodie, dark pants, and carrying a bag. The video showed the male walking west to 13th Street South, north to 17th Avenue South, west on 17th Avenue South, then south on 9th Avenue South, and as he moved through the B&B trailer park. That information was released a few days ago when we gave an update, and that was the still photo, the one where his face and head are covered. Then he walked towards the Grandview Apartments. We later discovered the Big Sky Dental video that we showed on our last update, that was the video that was hard to identify the person in the passenger seat. That video was taken 11:47 in the morning. The passenger does match the description of the person fleeing the crime scene. The passenger was also, that was observed turning off the dome light inside the car, was identified by the Grandview apartment manager, and he was identified as Adrian Gibson, Lane Gibson's twin brother. Now, it's important we talk about this at this point in time because I want to address this issue. Adrian Gibson was staying at the Grandview Apartments. He wasn't a renter there, he was just staying there. And we have cell phone data and information and video surveillance that brings our suspect back to that apartment complex. This is important. It is a key piece of evidence because of the fact that they are obviously twins. So identifying a twin and it being the brother is highly likely. The other reason that's important is I'm going to get into a theft that occurred at the Grandview Apartments. So at this point in time, as we speak, we have a detective on a plane headed out of state to go interview Aiden and also to collect DNA from him. Now, we will be able to, at some point, differentiate those two, but as people don't know out there, that twin brothers will often have the exact same DNA. However, we feel confident that Lane Gibson is our suspect at this point in time due to the other circumstantial evidence and that witnesses put them together just prior to the homicide occurring. How did we get this DNA? Well, a water bottle was collected near the passenger side of our victim's vehicle. The water bottle had both our suspect and victim's DNA on it. We also recovered a blood swipe on the door of the Grandview Apartments that entered a storage unit where the camera DVR system was. So the same day as the homicide, approximately an hour or two after we had discovered it, the Great Falls Police Department had taken a report of someone breaking into this storage area and stealing the DVR that records all the cameras inside the Grandview Apartments. On that door was blood. That blood matched the water bottle and matches our suspect, Lane Gibson. Cameras in the building had been pushed up from the normal position while this theft was happening. The theft, as I said before, the theft was taken later that day on January 9th. We do also, we have had a witness come forward with the suspect's shoes, and the suspect's shoes were identified as Lane Gibson's. And we do have a tread pattern match in the carpet of the car on the passenger seat that matches those shoes. Also, I will note the shoes were black, solid black in color, and appeared consistent with the video footage that we released. Kind of a like sock or minimalist style shoe. On January 15th, 2026, Lane Gibson was interviewed by DCI agents at the Great Falls Police Department. After Miranda rights, he agreed to speak with us. He acknowledged that he was there at 1605 Chowen Springs Loop that evening. He gives a different time that he says he was there. However, we had more than one witness that put him there between 3:30 and 4 a.m. Both witnesses stated that Gibson left nearly at the same time our victim did, as I stated earlier. One of the witnesses that we talked to was the one that we get the witness tampering on. Basically, what had occurred was, sorry, I'm not there yet. Tegan Armstrong was interviewed and stated that Gibson approached him within the last 2 weeks, asking him to lie about his whereabouts. Gibson initially claimed this would be his alibi. Through this investigation, this interview with our witness, we discovered that this was a false alibi. Once our witness learned that Gibson was the target of a homicide investigation, he refused to provide this false alibi. We had Snapchat messages that captured this witness tampering. The arrest warrant for Lane Gibson is set at a bail of $750,000. Cascade County Attorney's Office will be leading this investigation, as always with our Cascade County Attorney, Deputy County Attorney Ryan Ball, and Corey Larson. I would be remiss if I did not thank our investigation team in this. This investigation's been led by, as you all know him, Detective Nick Allison, as we put his phone number and email out there at every update. This was all hands on deck for the Cascade County Sheriff's Office. I probably could name every single person inside the Cascade County Sheriff's Office that had some role in this. I'd really like to thank the Great Falls Police Department, their detectives and their officers. At one point in time, this room during a briefing was probably full of 10 to 15 Great Falls police officers and detectives. They helped us with investigations and surveillance throughout this entire investigation. The DCI agents. DCI stepped up under the leadership of Attorney General Austin Knudsen, and they came to help us immediately. They did a great job with Maddock and the crime lab and coordinating everything, and they played a key and integral role in this investigation. We also had assistance from the FBI. They helped us with some technology and helped us with some investigative leads, so I want to say thank you to them as well. I want to thank the public for responding to our press releases, contacting us with leads, and getting involved in this investigation. This has been a very important investigation to this community, and I'm glad that we can bring this to somewhat of a resolution. I say that because those of you know that if you've ever worked a homicide investigation, once the arrest is made is when the real work starts. We will be investigating this for several months, if not longer, as we move into the future. This was a multi-agency investigation spanning over 20 days. Multiple forms of evidence were used to corroborate these charges: DNA, surveillance videos, witness statements, digital collection of data, physical evidence. The defendant was a danger to community, and we are very grateful that he is in custody at this point in time. Without any further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Chief Newton for comment.
Thank you, Sheriff. Again, my name is Jeff Newton. I'm the Chief of Police with the Great Falls Police Department. I'll keep my comments brief, as Sheriff Slaughter gave a pretty comprehensive overview. My purpose here today is to emphasize the teamwork and collaboration that goes into these cases. When the Sheriff says these are all hands on deck, these impact every facet of our organizations. Every bureau, Great Falls Police Department has 5 bureaus plus volunteers, and every member of every bureau participated to some extent in this investigation. Also, the teamwork and collaboration, you're talking state, local, federal partners. That's what it's all about. It's not about who gets credit for it. It's about everybody jumping in together and working collaboratively to bring this to a successful resolution. It's an honor. It's an honor watching everybody work together, including up to the Attorney General's office, who stepped up and assisted in this process. It's humbling to stand here in front of everybody, but I'm proud of everybody to this point who's got this investigation where we are today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen. I first want to thank Sheriff Slaughter. I want to thank Chief Newton. This is a model for how we do things in Montana. This is what a homicide investigation should look like. This is a model of collaboration. And I really want to give credit to these gentlemen behind me for reaching out. Almost immediately, Sheriff Slaughter reached out to me personally, let me know what was going on the ground, and let me know that they were probably going to need some expedited evidence processed by the State Crime Lab. That's our Forensic Science Division, FSD. That's under my purview at the Montana Department of Justice. And that was my absolute pleasure to give the green light on, and we got that evidence expedited, and that led to those charges that you saw amended today. Again, I just think this is what we do in Montana. Neighbors help each other out. We don't worry about whose sandbox is whose. We're not worried about turf. We come together, we get the job done for Montana safety. So I'm pleased to say to the residents of Cascade County and specifically to the residents of Great Falls, this is a dangerous individual who is no longer on our streets. He's going to face the full brunt of Montana justice. It's going to be done correctly, and I'm going to hopefully get to work with County Attorney Racky on that, but he's got a great team going to work on that as well. I need to personally thank members of the Montana Department of Justice who helped work on this, specifically our DCI agents located here in Great Falls. We've got a big contingent of our Division of Criminal Investigation, major crimes investigators who are located here in Great Falls. They were instrumental in this case, I know that. The State Fusion Center, our information fusion center located in Helena, they were involved in some of the digital work. But big kudos to the State Crime Lab, the Forensic Science Division located in Missoula. They really put their nose to the grindstone and got this evidence processed quickly, efficiently, correctly, and that got us some lock evidence that's key to this case and to this prosecution. So again, this is what this should look like in Montana, and absolute kudos to Sheriff Slaughter and to Chief Newton for reaching out and getting everyone involved. Thank you.
Thanks, and I would just like to say, of course, thank you to everybody, the Great Falls Police, DCI, Sheriff Slaughter, and the Attorney General. We had many late nights in this very room working this case, and quite frankly, especially with that DNA, we couldn't have done it without that rush DNA. Moving forward, the defendant will have a arraignment hearing within 2 to 3 weeks. At that time, given the nature of this case, I don't expect a trial date to be set. Judge Parker will be presiding on this trial. I expect we'll have a scheduling hearing after that to set trial dates and discovery deadlines and things like that. There will be more DNA, as the sheriff has alluded to, in an ongoing investigation. Now that the suspect is identified, certainly get a hold of Mr. Allison or Detective Allison if you have anything further or further information you'd like to share. So, thank you.
Okay, at this point in time, I'll open up the floor to media for any questions.
Sheriff, was there any motive determined at all during the course of the investigation at all?
At this point, it's hard to say. At this point, it's hard to say. So we will, obviously, as we continue through, that's something we're going to be looking for. Great question.
Is it Aiden or Adrian, the twin?
Aiden.
Aiden, got it.
Yep.
Is he cooperating?
Well, like I said, my detective's on the way there. Yes, so we will know shortly.
All right. And, when I know you first heard Aiden before you heard Lane's name, how long did it take to realize that he was a twin?
Not very long at all. It was moments later, and part of that was one of our key investigators in this happened to be a DCI agent, and one I've worked with for a long time. We've worked together for over 20 years, and we kind of saw that happening right away because we'd already interviewed our suspect who we've charged with homicide, and so we started to connect dots on that pretty quick as far as that goes. But that was a really good question.
And lastly, were there any public tips that led to any breaks in this investigation?
I would say there was a ton of public tips that led to breaks. As far as, I just checked today because I knew that question might come. And, none really that led to Lane Gibson, our suspect in this case, ironically enough. I think, obviously, the tip where they identify his twin, thought it was his twin, I think that's kind of a one, so not very much. I'll give full credit to, good old-fashioned detective work. You heard me read this long timeline of investigation, and everyone will have the affidavits and the press releases, and you'll see the amount of work that went into this case. And oftentimes in law enforcement, especially today's day and age with technology, you heard Snapchat referred to, cell phones, location devices. And at the end of the day, it was detectives and officers and deputies beating the street, doing interviews, and doing their job like they're supposed to that led to this. I'm really proud of that. Anything else? Well,
I was
oh,
also
good.
going to ask about the community health, which
Yeah.
you just answered. But it was mentioned several times that he was a big threat to the community. Was anybody else harmed from this individual?
Not that we know of. Not that we know of. I mean, obviously, we're still investigating. We will be for quite some time. And if that comes to light, then we will, take action as necessary.
So hopefully not, but.
Yeah, hopefully not, but we haven't, we don't have any information that anybody else was. So we're keep investigating. A lot of people out there who might be watching this, or catch it later on the news, a lot of people assume that you got them, it's done. The work starts now. This is really when the work really starts. You work hard, you gain probable cause to make an arrest. In a jury, when they go to trial, they have to have beyond a reasonable doubt. And so making that investigation and getting there and getting the pieces put together, it's an arduous, long process, and I imagine it will take months. Any further questions? All right, again, I just want to thank everybody, rethank our partners. We couldn't have done it without them. I'm going to steal the Attorney General's comment. This is what cooperation looks like, and it's really nice just to be a part of it. I'm grateful. Thank you all.